I built a six-figure investment portfolio in my early 20s, and that's not something I say to brag. It's something I say because most people at my age believe investing is just for the rich, the lucky, or older people. Or they say it's for those who got into crypto at the right time and hit some crazy 100x moonshot. But that wasn't me. I didn't hit some crazy crypto pump. I didn't grind 16 hours a day. I didn't inherit money, and I didn't get some magical shortcut. Yes, I did have great income from my YouTube business. I'm not going to pretend that that didn't matter. But having a good income never guarantees to build wealth. There's people making $10,000 a month in cities like New York or Miami, and by the end of the month, they don't have much left. There's finance guys on Wall Street making 6 figures a year who still feel like they're drowning financially. And that's because rent, food, transportation, and lifestyle pressure eat everything alive. The thing that helped me build a 6-figure portfolio wasn't some secret strategy, it was something much simpler. I stopped living in environments with outrageous expenses. Where you live determines if your money compounds or evaporates. When I lived in America full time, even though I was making great money, I never felt like my income could go super far. Even though I was making more money than most people my age, the environment kept pulling money out of my pocket. Paying for rent, paying for my car, paying for insurance, food costs, and other just random expenses that come with living in the US. But when I left the US and started spending long periods of my time abroad in other countries, everything changed. My income didn't drop, but my expenses dropped. And instead of that money being put into things that didn't matter towards my future, like cars or watches or going to the club, I started pouring that money into investments. I'm talking ETFs, crypto long-term portfolios, stocks, and also a couple high-yield savings account buffers. And that's how I built my portfolio. Not by making millions, not by being a genius, and certainly not by gambling, but by creating a huge gap between my income and my expenses, and letting that gap build wealth over time. If you make money online or have any sort of remote income, you're sitting on a superpower that most people dream of having. You can choose where you live. You can choose your cost of living. You can choose the environment that your income is spent in. Most people don't have that freedom. They have to stay near their job. They rely on a car to get anywhere. They get maybe 2-3 weeks of vacation per year and can't decide to just go live in another country. And this is because their job ties them down to one physical place. But online earners, we're not anchored to anything. Your income is mobile. Your expenses don't have to be tied to your home country, such as America. And once you realize how powerful that is, you start to realize that your environment is either your biggest wealth multiplier or your biggest wealth killer. That's what this video is really about. It's not about leaving America forever or leaving behind your home country. It's about strategically choosing where you spend your money so you can invest heavily in your early 20s or 30s. And by doing this, we can build financial foundations that most people never get. So let's break this down slowly and realistically, starting with the wealth trap that most Americans get stuck in. Most people don't realize how expensive America is until they leave. And honestly, that makes sense. If you've lived in America your whole life, that cost of living just seems normal. You don't question the fact that eating out is more than it should, that rent is very high, that people spend hundreds of dollars a month on their car payments. You just assume this is how life works, but it doesn't have to work that way. First, the car problem. This is probably the biggest expense that people don't question. In the US, owning a car is basically mandatory, but a car is one of the most expensive subscriptions you'll ever have. And people forget all the individual parts that add up. Car payment, $200 to $400 a month. Car insurance, another $100 to $300 a month. Gas, easily $100, $200 a month, maybe more. Maintenance, $50 to $100 a month. And then registration plus random fees associated with your car just equals more money gone. And that's easily $400 to $800 a month, not factoring in how much time you spend in traffic. When I moved to Europe or when I was traveling through South America, that entire expense category just disappeared. I wasn't paying car insurance. I wasn't paying for gas. I wasn't paying monthly for maintenance. I wasn't stuck in traffic. Public transportation is like $20 to $40 a month for unlimited rides. Taxis were cheap. Everything is walkable. One simple lifestyle change gave me an extra $500 a month to invest. Number 2, the food problem. It blows my mind how expensive eating out in America is. Whenever I'm back home visiting family, go to grab lunch with a friend or family member, I'm spending at least $45, $60 for just like 2 burgers and some drinks. And this isn't in a nice luxury restaurant. These are just in normal places. Compare that to when I'm abroad, especially in places like South America or Central Asia. $3 meals, $5 meals, fresh ingredients, and honestly, healthier food. I remember in Uzbekistan ordering meals for just a few bucks, and in Colombia, I would DoorDash food to my apartment. I would get like a steak, fries, soup, all for like $7, including the delivery fee. Number 3, the rent problem. This is probably the biggest wealth killer for most Americans. So for a simple breakdown, rent in a basic city in the US is probably around $1,000 to $1,600 a month. And in an average city, it's probably $1,600 to $2,200 a month. And if we're talking Miami, LA, or New York, it's easily $2,500 plus a month in rent. So just by living in America, you're easily burning thousands of dollars a month on rent alone. Meanwhile, in safe, beautiful Europe, $800 to $1,100 gets you a beautiful modern apartment, and the apartment will be very close to public transport. It will be in a walkable city, and it will be surrounded by cafes, parks, great food. And in South America or Central Asia, you can rent for even less. So again, the difference between barely saving anything and investing aggressively comes down to where you live, not where you work, not how many hours you grind, and not whether you caught the right crypto pump. Now let's talk about what happens when you actually take your US income and spend it abroad, because for online earners, this is the cheat code. Let's start with Europe because it's a more relatable and balanced example. In Europe, you can realistically comfortably spend $2,000 to $2,500 a month. I hear people spending much less per month, but me, I like to have nice food quality, nice apartment to live in, so I spend at least $2,000 a month. Your rent is going to be anywhere from $900 to $1,100 a month. Groceries anywhere from $350 to $500 a month. Eating out isn't too expensive, but you could still throw in like $200 of your monthly budget towards eating out. Public transport monthly will be like $20 to $40, and then your gym plus your phone bill maybe $70. And then health insurance can be like $70 to $200 a month depending on your plan. And then you can spend another $300 on like cafes, having fun, exploring the city, maybe traveling to some countries nearby. So in total, on $2,000 to $2,500 a month, you can have a great lifestyle. Clean, modern apartment in a safe neighborhood, awesome public transport, great food, social events, and honestly a calm environment. Now, when you're an American coming to Europe, it's not a huge culture shock. Like when you're in Europe, people speak English. There's guys with similar interests you can connect to. Of course, if you're going somewhere like a village in South America, it's probably going to feel a bit more of culture shock. There's going to be people that have lived in a village all their life. But when you're in Europe, especially a major city, almost everyone under the age of 30 speaks English, and there's a ton of digital nomads, expats, people living there from other countries, etc. So in this scenario, you're saving anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a month, maybe even more, just by living abroad. And that difference is what turns your income into wealth. One of the things I didn't expect when I started to live abroad is just how much better my lifestyle was getting without me spending more money. I think a lot of Americans assume that the US automatically offers the best lifestyle, and in some categories, yeah, America for sure has its advantages. But when you're an entrepreneur or online earner, your typical priorities are affordability, walkability, safety, food quality, social life, better stress, better daily habits. In a lot of countries, absolutely blow the US out of the water. When I was in Uzbekistan, the concept of geo arbitrage became impossible for me to ignore because the combination of affordability and lifestyle quality when I was in Tashkent, the capital, was ridiculous. Here's what my expenses look like. A hotel was like 10 to 15 bucks a night. I'm talking hotel, not some small Airbnb apartment, a full hotel in the capital of the country. Then for meals, we could spend $3 to $5 per meal. I'd probably end up spending more because I'd order like 3 dishes because everything was so cheap. And then taxis were like 60 cents to $1 to get around the city, super cheap. And then my SIM card with data was a few bucks. In the lifestyle, super clean and safe cities with very friendly people, great architecture, walkable streets, a surprising mix of modern and traditional culture. It felt peaceful and it felt slow in a good way. And I want to be super clear about something. You don't have to leave the US forever. I'm certainly not one of those people that's like, America is trash, I want to leave forever and never come back. No, I still like the US a lot. I like the culture. I like coming to visit my family and friends. I'm literally going in a couple weeks from now. I like certain cities there. I like certain food there. But what I'm talking about is strategy. You can spend 3 to 6 months a year abroad and transform your financial life. You certainly don't need to run away forever. You just need to step outside the US economy for long enough to benefit from the differences in cost of living. Let's take a look at the math. You'll like this. If you save $1,200 to $1,800 a month by living abroad, that's $1,400 to $21,000 saved per year, $144,000 to $216,000 saved per decade, and invested at 8%. You know how powerful that is with compound interest. And this isn't even counting for the regular investments you'll be making anyways. Say you're already investing $1,000 to $10,000 a month into your investment portfolio, you can just add that on top. And this right here is how you build serious money in your 20s. Not necessarily by earning more, but by optimizing where your money is spent. This is why living abroad, even temporarily, is so powerful. It's not about abandoning your home country, it's about giving yourself breathing room to save and invest, all while upgrading your lifestyle. Now, one of the parts about living abroad that most people don't really realize is how easy it is to build a global network. And I don't mean a forced networking thing, I mean I genuinely meet cool people. When I travel to a new city, I usually type a message in one of the online business group chats I'm in. I just say, hey, is anyone in Berlin, for example? And instantly, when I arrive to the city, I'll have people to hang out with similar interests, people who make money online, work remotely, build businesses, invest, think globally, and most importantly, understand this lifestyle. It's honestly one of the biggest quality of life upgrades that came with traveling. I was able to form some of the best friendships just because I wasn't stuck in the same zip code. I was able to form some of the best connections just because I wasn't stuck in the same zip code every day. If you're in your 20s, especially if you're sitting in some small town you've lived in your whole life, this matters. The people you're around shape your habits, shape your mindset, and even your investing behavior, which leads to something important. A huge part of what helped me feel comfortable when traveling abroad and what helped me to keep traveling was having access to a group full of online earners, people I could meet up with, people who think like me, people who are into online business, and people who aren't stuck in the traditional path. It makes the entire lifestyle 10 times easier, so I created this free community for you guys. For online earners, entrepreneurs, or people who just want to live this decentralized lifestyle, whether you want to invest more, save more, or just travel the world, click the link in the description down below to join the free chat. Don't try to figure out this lifestyle alone. Surround yourself with people doing the same thing. It changes everything. Now, this group won't be free forever, but join while it's free. Next, let's talk about the real lifestyle upgrade. A lot of influencers talk about traveling in a super cliche way. They say stuff like it opens up your mind, or you'll discover who you really are, or the classic, you'll become a new person once you travel. Now, although some of that stuff may be true, most entrepreneurs don't care about poetic quotes. What actually matters is the real world lifestyle upgrades you get from living abroad or traveling. Even temporarily, when you're in a place where your money goes further and your expenses go down. Let's talk about the real upgrades, not the Instagram ones. The ones that actually impact your health, your business, and your portfolio. First, better food. Now, I realized so quickly how the food quality in Europe and South America is so much better in the US. In the US, you're constantly having high fructose corn syrup. That stuff in Europe is super restricted. In the US, the culture is full of fast food. When you're coming home on a Friday night, are you really gonna cook something, or are you just gonna order pizza? In Europe, the eating out culture is much less common, and when people are eating out, it's not like a bunch of fried chicken with french fries and bread. I love going down, getting fresh produce, getting some fresh meat from the butcher, cooking at home, but days when I am out, I can go to like a meat shop that cooks meat, or I can go to local restaurants and get local food that's not filled with sugar, preservatives, all that nonsense. Same thing in South America. Meals are very fresh, made with few ingredients, very basic things like chicken and rice, steak, potatoes, maybe some french fries. In Central Asia, when I was traveling, I was staying at this homestay with this family in a village. It was like the freshest food I've ever had in my life. We were having apples from their trees, milk from their cows, like meat from the butcher shop. It was just super authentic food, very fresh. When your diet improves, your mood gets better, your energy stabilizes, your sleep gets better, which can lead to better business output and business performance. A lot of people don't realize how their environment is sabotaging their health. When you move abroad and try to live a healthier lifestyle, you feel it instantly. Second, more walking equals automatically better habits. In almost every country I've traveled through or lived in out of the US, the lifestyle pretty much forces you to walk more. Europe and South America are built around walkable cities, public transportation, outdoor plazas, amazing malls, cafes. South America in particular had some of the nicest, most coolest malls I've been to. Tons of amazing parks, cafes. And when you're in the US, most likely when you want to go somewhere that isn't your apartment or house, you need a car. When you're abroad, the lifestyle encourages you to walk more. You walk to grab groceries, you walk to meet a friend, you walk to the cafe, walk to the gym. You start feeling healthier without even trying, especially if you're an entrepreneur who's just sitting primarily throughout the day, not getting a ton of physical activity. When you're in the US, you might hop in your car to go to some stores, but in Europe, you can walk, get those extra steps, burn some more calories. Number 3, safer cities equal lower stress. This is something most Americans underestimate until they leave. The US has some amazing cities, but let's be honest, a lot of places don't feel safe, especially at night. I remember taking my European girlfriend to New York last year. She's always wanted to go. She imagined New York as this iconic, glamorous city, but walking around at night or even during the a day. She felt unsafe pretty much every second. People yelling in the street, trash everywhere, sirens constantly, sketchy people around every corner, ridiculously overpriced food and drinks. The vibe was just chaotic. Compare that to walking around beautiful cities like Prague, Warsaw, Vienna, where these cities are clean, quiet, safe, no paranoia. Women are walking alone at night by themselves, they're not scared. People mind their own business, and public transport is clean and predictable. And this peace of mind is worth more than people realize. I would get asked very uncomfortable questions from Uber drivers. I have a ton of just crazy stories from that country. And here in Europe, it is much more peaceful. And again, when you're at peace, your stress is lower, your business output can increase. Number 4, freedom from car payments and car insurance. This was a big game changer for me. I was spending a lot of money per year, whether it was on car insurance, car maintenance, or just buying a new car or getting upgrades for my car. And in America, having a car is a non-negotiable, and car expenses drain more money than almost anything else. But abroad, I don't own a car. I don't need a car. I don't even live in a city center. I don't have like a metro under me like in the city centers of Europe. I live outside of the city center, outside of the city, but we still have bus transportation that could bring us to the city. It's quick and it's super affordable. Back when I was living in the city center, the transportation was just even more amazing since I had trams near me, I had a metro near me, and we also had buses in the city. But here, it's anywhere from like 20 to 40 bucks for unlimited transportation. In the occasional taxis, like 7 to 15 bucks if it's longer. Train rides across the country is like 20 bucks. If you're going to other countries, maybe like 70 bucks. Weekend flights across Europe, you can find round trip tickets for around anywhere from 60 to 100 bucks. Compare that to your US car payment, insurance payment, and gas. $500 to $900 per month. That's $6,000 to $10,000 per year. Money that could go straight into ETFs, crypto accounts, high yield savings accounts. For me personally, getting rid of all those car expenses from my life gave me money back into my pocket that I could use to spend on a better apartment, like better rent, or back into investments. And that's huge when you're young. If you're watching this, if you're in your 20s or 30s, you're in very important times in terms of your financial future. Not because you need to be rich in your 20s or 30s or have tons of income, but because compound interest hits hardest for those who start young. Even small contributions consistently to your investment accounts today can look huge in 10, 15 to 20 years from now. And the best way to invest more money every single month without having to be super cheap or without having to make more money is to just lower your living expenses. The earlier you start investing, the easier your financial life can be later on. And living abroad is a realistic way to start investing more when you're young, since you don't need to be some super successful high-income entrepreneur. Because here's the truth, most people in their 20s can't invest, not because they don't want to, but because their expenses take up everything. Rent, car payments, groceries, student loans, you name it. The average American barely has anything left to invest. But if you're making $3,000 to $5,000 a month online and you're living abroad, you can realistically invest at least $1,000 or $2,000 a month every month. And that formula can surely change your life. And here's something important. You don't need to be a digital nomad that goes from country to country, always traveling, not having a consistent social circle, group of friends, etc. I hate that lifestyle. I like having a couple bases where I spend most of my time that work for me. You don't need to give up your US residency either. And of course, you don't need to leave forever. Most online earners should start with something more realistic. Live abroad for like 3 to 6 months out of the year. See how you like it. This is the strategy I wish more young entrepreneurs learned earlier. 3 to 6 months is enough time to, first of all, dramatically reduce your expenses. Second, accelerate your investments. Third, build international and awesome friendships. 4, break out of the US financial pressure. 5, have more experiences, experience awesome cultures. And then 6, you also get to enjoy the US without being trapped in it, because you can always come back for a few months of the year, see friends and family, then return to a country that's cheaper, fits your lifestyle better. It's the perfect balance. Let me give you an example of how this plays out in the real world. If you spend 6 months of the year in the US and 6 months abroad, total US cost, let's say it's $3,500 a month. Typical abroad cost, let's say it's $2,100 a month. You're saving $1,400 per month. And I know you're probably thinking, what about costs of flights, etc.? Well, if you're spending money per month when you're in the US or abroad on credit cards, you can use those points to get massive discounted flights or travel for free. Comment below if you want to see more videos about travel hacking or how to take advantage of credit cards to earn free flights or get cheap travel. Just comment down below. Anyways, with those expenses over 6 months, you'd be saving around $8,400 and invested yearly for 10 years at 8% returns. That's $120,000 to $140,000. And that's money you're getting not by making more money, not by having a better job, more income, not not doing anything except choosing where your life happens. This is what I mean when I say traveling is the biggest cheat code for online earners. Not because you're trying to escape something, but because you're leveraging geography and other economies to compound money at a young age. Let's talk about Miami for a second, because that city is the perfect example of how a city can drain your bank account. When I was in Miami, basic meals just for one person were $30 plus. I remember buying 3 tacos for $33. I was just in shock. Rent for a basic apartment is thousands of dollars a month. Everyone around you spending money, lifestyle creep hits instantly. Miami's fun, it's energetic, it's beautiful. I get the hype, but it is not a wealth building environment unless you have extremely high income. In Miami, you get sucked into the culture. You feel like you have to keep up. You justify unnecessary purchases. You burn through cash without realizing it. It's not that Miami is bad, it's just not aligned for this lifestyle I'm trying to build. Let's talk about what people get wrong about being young and traveling. A lot of Americans get this idea that your 20s are for grinding nonstop, like you're supposed to work 24/7. But here's what they don't tell you. Your 20s can be the most important decade for your investing. Delaying investing until you're 30 or 35 can be one of the biggest financial mistakes you make. And the reason many Americans delay this isn't because of their lack of understanding. It's because their cost of living makes it impossible. When you're abroad, you understand geography and other economies. When you're abroad, you feel less trapped financially. When you're abroad, your mind breaks out of that traditional route box. This isn't running away, it's stepping into a more strategic stage of life. One of the biggest shifts I had from living abroad is I realized my life doesn't have to revolve around one country. Living abroad taught me you can have banks in multiple countries. You can earn in one currency and spend it in the other. You can diversify your life. You don't need to rely on one government. You don't need to accept a high cost of living as normal. You don't need to follow the standard route that everyone follows. Once you understand this, your life becomes more decentralized. And I know for all you crypto guys out there, you love this term decentralized because it is the future. You realize you can live anywhere that supports your goals. Let's run through one last realistic scenario because numbers don't lie. Say you make $4,000 a month online. If you live in America, say your expenses are $3,500 a month. Then your investing capacity is about $500 a month. So investing that every 10 years at 8%, that's $75,000. Then for 20 years at 8%, that's $220,000. But if you live abroad with that same income and your expenses are $2,200, then your investing capacity is all of a sudden $1,800 a month. And then investing that every 10 years at 8% is $275,000. Investing it every 20 years at 8% is $800,000. Same income, different environment, completely different financial outcome. This is why I say you don't necessarily need to earn more, even though that's always a goal. You just need to spend smarter. This isn't complicated, but most people just never question where they live. If you're serious about this lifestyle, even if you want to just try it out for a few months, don't do it alone. One of the biggest factors that helped me enjoy traveling more living abroad was being in group chats filled with online earners, guys I could meet up with when I'm going to new cities, and people who weren't stuck in that traditional mindset. That group changed so much for me, so again, I created a free group for you guys. Make sure to join it by clicking the link in the description down below. Your environment can change your whole financial future. You don't need to be rich to start, you just need to be strategic. And if you start early compounding money, your future self will thank you a million times over. I created an amazing video going more in depth on how I built my investment portfolio into the 6 figures. Click the video on the screen to watch.